thanks for the opportunity to testify in support of HB 135, the Down Syndrome Non-Discrimination Act. I'm a cell biologist currently working for the Charlotte Lozier Institute in Washington, D.C. as Vice President of Research Director. I also serve as Academic Professor of Molecular Genetics at Washington, D.C. University and an advisory board member for the Midwest Stem Cell Therapy Center, the unique comprehensive stem cell center campus. Previously, I spent 10 years as a senior fellow for life sciences at a similar policy think tank in Washington, D.C. Prior to that, a couple of decades as professor of life sciences at Indiana State and adjunct professor of medical and molecular genetics at Indiana University School of Medicine. And my colleagues like to talk about the decades of experience I've had. It makes me feel very old, but I do have a certain amount of background. Our genetic composition is determined at the moment of conception. That includes many genetic differences considered to be abnormalities, such as Down syndrome, in which an individual has an additional third copy of chromosome 21, trisomy. It's also determined at conception when the sperm and egg fuse to form the zygote, a single-celled human organism, a new human being. Eugenics is the term given to attempts to control human heredity in the past, including here in the United States. Extensively documented in the archives of Cold Spring Harbor, such attempts have included efforts at selective breeding of high-quality individuals, selective sterilization of others to prevent offspring, and even infanticide. Today we see genetic attempts based on specific genetic traits. This bill, HB 135, deals with preventing discrimination based on genetic difference. While it might seem this is a straightforward and logical protection that's unnecessary, there's ample evidence for the need for such protection. Genetic discrimination abortions in terms of those against genetic abnormalities are well documented in the evidence involving bias against babies diagnosed in utero with Down syndrome. Studies show that such preborn children are aborted at an extremely high rate. Documentation from other countries, which keep better records than the United States, tells a chilling tale. In France, for example, they keep excellent records on prenatal screening as a matter of public policy. Bradford cites a 96% rate of abortion for those diagnosed in the womb with Down syndrome. In the UK, an earlier study found a 92% abortion rate for children diagnosed in the womb with Down syndrome, while a 2012 study found 100% of those prenatally diagnosed with Down syndrome were aborted. In the U.S., a 1999 study found almost 87% of those diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb were aborted, while a 2012 review of the literature, looking only at U.S. data, found a weighted mean from 61 up to 93% of those diagnosed who were aborted. A new report just published in the American Journal of Medical Genetics used rigorous statistical modeling of the sparse U.S. data from 2006 to 2010 and found that abortion after prenatal diagnosis has reduced the population of individuals living with Down syndrome in the U.S. by approximately 30%. Now that's not the rate of abortion. It's talking here particularly about the decreased numbers of individuals who are in our population now. So again, it's not the percentage who are having an abortion following that prenatal diagnosis. That number is actually higher. And the analysis also eliminates the overall reduction in the Down syndrome population, considering the total number of Down syndrome pregnancies, whether prenatally diagnosed or not. If prenatal screening using the newer, non-invasive blood test becomes more widely available, as it seems likely, then the expectation is the number of terminations will certainly increase. Similar rates of selection against life are seen for babies diagnosed in the womb with other genetic conditions or with physical abnormalities. And again, this is simply a modern version of eugenic selection. Sometimes regarding these prenatal diagnoses, we hear the term incompatible with life. Nora Sullivan points out this label portrays as a medical diagnosis what's really a judgment call about a profoundly disabled child's quality of life. The term is not only offensive to the parents who object to the implication of children's lives hold less value due to their potential heredity, but it also has serious implications as to how families perceive these disabilities and their decision-making process. The term is, frankly, medically meaningless, incorrect, and enormously hurtful. And indeed, a study in critical care medicine noted that what doctors tell parents about their child's prognosis is often influenced by the doctor's own attitude toward neurological impairment. Now contrast the prevalent attitude about Down syndrome that leads to this lethal diagnosis, with recent facts about the increased lifespan, health, learning, and especially the satisfaction for those with Down syndrome and their families. A recent study by Scott Carroll found that 99% of people with Down syndrome are happy with their lives. 99% of parents said they love their Down syndrome child, and 97% of brothers and sisters ages 9 to 11 said they love their sibling. Medical science has also improved significantly, not only in terms of surgeries to alleviate some of the physical problems associated with Down syndrome, but also in potential pharmaceutical treatments. Bradford notes several clinical trials currently ongoing, begun within the last 5 years, with drugs that are hoped will improve the cognition for individuals affected by Down syndrome. Other work has helped elucidate some of the genetic and cellular mechanisms that lead to these tissue characteristics we associate with Down syndrome. In fact, work with a mouse model has shown that treatment of newborns with a genetic activator actually has therapeutic potential to improve cognitive function. Another group showed that a laboratory mechanism to remove that potential third chromosome was possible, and another team for possibly silencing the extra chromosome in those trisomes. A recent 2014 paper used an induced pluripotent stem cell model, cells made from cells from a Down syndrome patient, to show that certain neural cells called astroglia behave aberrantly in Down syndrome, but that an FDA-approved drug, the antibiotic minocycline, can partially correct the problems with those cells. Another study, in April of 2015, found a potential mechanism not only to explain some of the cognitive deficits with Downs, but found that use of another FDA-approved drug could enhance behavioral performance in learning and memory tests. The commercialized non-invasive prenatal tests that we were discussing previously have made screening much easier and much earlier, but they've also presented greater opportunities for selecting against individuals with genetic abnormalities, not just for chromosomal trisomies such as Down, but for an increasing list of genetic disorders or traits. This should not be the case, but rather those tests should be used, as Dr. Diane Young, Tufts Medical Center, has noted, to develop new approaches to fetal treatment. For example, fetal surgery. It's undergoing a rapid expansion right now as more doctors and parents realize the possibility and even the advantage of surgery while the child is still within the womb. And we're also starting to see some conditions, including genetic abnormalities, such as severe immune deficiencies and a bone condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, treated in the womb by using stem cells or gene therapy. Now, these are simply very young patients, and they should be treated as such. Donovan and Messner summarized the arguments against disability discrimination abortions provided by disability rights groups themselves in an active superior brief filed with the Supreme Court. These disability rights groups point out that some abortions of children with disabilities involve diagnoses that are likely to be fatal. Many involve non-fatal conditions such as Down syndrome or cystic fibrosis or spina bifida. And even in these non-fatal cases, the statistics are alarming. They found that recent evidence suggests that as many as 95% of parents receiving such a prenatal diagnosis, such as cystic fibrosis, elect to terminate the child. According to those disability rights groups, the Supreme Court, quotes, has never endorsed a right to abort children only because they've been detected to have a disability, end quote. HB 135 would provide necessary distinct protections for developing human beings, preventing discrimination based on genetics or disability. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the discussion, and please answer your questions.